Hey, friends, and welcome back to Pastors' Wives Tell All. We are thrilled about today's conversation with someone who is not only wise, but so fun and down to earth, Donna Jones. Donna is a pastor's wife and a self-described Bible explainer because she's passionate about knowing God's word in order to live God's word. She's the author of multiple books, including Healthy Conflict, Peaceful Life, Taming Your Family Zoo, and Seek, A Woman's Guide to Meeting God, as well as 5 Bible studies. Donna is also a national speaker who has shared God's truth in 28 states and on 4 continents. And she hosts the That's Just What I Needed podcast, which ranks in the top 1.5% of all podcasts globally. Donna and her husband, Dr. J.P. Jones, planted Crossline Church in Laguna Hills, California. But her favorite role? Being mom to her 3 adult children and their spouses, who still love to perch on her kitchen counter just to talk. She's a fan of strong coffee, great conversations, and really cute shoes, especially if they're on sale. In today's episode, we dive into one of the trickiest areas of ministry and life, conflict. Donna helps us unpack what it looks like to handle conflict in a holy and healthy way. She shares practical wisdom for breaking unhealthy patterns, finding peace, and approaching difficult conversations with grace and truth, especially for those of us in ministry leadership. It's a good one, friends. So let's get to this important conversation.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Stephanie.
And you are listening to Pastors' Wives Tell All,
A podcast by pastors' wives for church leaders and anyone desiring to take a peek inside our glass house.
We are breaking down walls and crushing pastors' wives stereotypes within the church.
We want pastors' wives and other ministry leaders to know that they are not alone in this. Plus, this is basically therapy for the 3 of us with a whole lot of dance parties. Woo, woo, woo. Hey, Donna, welcome to the podcast.
It's so fun to be with you all. I love it.
I almost said welcome back to the podcast, but you've never been on our podcast, but we have been on yours.
That's right. That's how I got to know you 3 wonderful women.
It was super fun.
It was. It's so good to see your face again. So, Donna, before we jump in to all of the questions, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, about your family, what you do, all the things.
All the things. Well, like most of your listeners, I am a pastor's wife. My husband is a senior pastor of our church. We actually planted our church 20 years ago. So, so there's that. I'm a speaker and an author. I've written 4 books, and I'm a podcaster, as you know, because you've been on my podcast. And we are the proud parents of 3 young adult kids, and they are all 3 married now.
Wow.
And our last one got married last year.
Aww.
And this is a little fun fact.
Yes.
She is getting ready to have her first, they've been married about 1.5 years. She's been getting ready to have her first baby. And so I keep checking my phone because her due date was Monday.
Oh.
And yeah.
Man, that's like early Christmas right there. That's
What if she gets the call in the middle of this episode? We could tell the people.
We can tell.
Baby's here.
You know, you can take your phone along, computer along. Yeah. Turns into a podcast / vlog on Donna's grandbaby.
This could be epic. This could go viral.
Yes.
It definitely would. That's for sure.
Goodness.
I don't know if your daughter would love that, but it would.
Yeah, it would be fun for us.
That's awesome.
I love this. Okay, so Donna, you are a pastor's wife. Obviously, you've been one for quite some time. And I know you probably have learned a lot, gained a lot of wisdom. But could you just share with us some of those ups and downs? Could you share maybe the hardest experience in ministry, but maybe even start with like your favorite part of ministry and then end with the hardest?
Okay, good. Well, my favorite part of ministry, it's probably similar to what you all might say and probably what most of our listeners would say. And that is life change. Like when you see someone, whether they don't know Jesus and then they come into a relationship with Jesus and their life is changed. I mean, there is nothing better than that.
Yeah.
But even if there's a person that knows Jesus, but their family's changed, or their relationship with God has changed, or some sort of life change. I mean, that is just the sweetest. I mean, that's the best. That's as good as it gets, right?
It is. It is.
So I would say that is my absolute favorite thing, is to see God really transform a life. And honestly, I hadn't even thought about this until this minute, to see how God transforms my life. And like you said, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I really see how God has transformed my life.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite things. So that would be the best. I think the hardest would be, and everybody's going to relate to this too, is the heartbreak that can go along. Because when you're in ministry, you love Jesus so much, but you also love people so much.
Right.
And you just want to do the very best that you can, but that's not always understood or appreciated. And so sometimes there's criticism that comes with that. Sometimes there's compassion fatigue. We're just like, oh my gosh, I cannot take one more person's crises.
Yes.
And so it's heavy. There's a lot of heaviness to it, and this is why I love that you're doing this podcast, because nobody gets it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a pastor's wife.
Right.
There is no way that you can understand it unless you live it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Well, and it's so crazy as you're kind of saying that, like, it's so crazy, like the difference. And it's like the compassion. What did you say? Compassion fatigue. I like the way you said that, because sometimes, it's just like, it's overflowing and it's like, man, I know this is Jesus. It's just coming and it's just flowing out. But then it's like other days, it's like, why do I not feel so much compassion for this person today? Like, usually this would be fine and that would be great. But then
you compassioned out.
I'm compassioned out. Like, but I do have to always go back and go, like, why am I compassioned out? Is it because I'm just tired and burned out? Or is it if I haven't spent time with the Lord? Like, have I not been abiding? Am I not loving myself? Is there sin that's blocking, that's making me just a little bit more like, meh? So definitely, like when you said that, I was like, yeah. And it's weird how it could be like one day it's great, and then the next day not a lot's happened, but I'm still bleh.
Well, and it's funny because, I actually translated that a little bit different in my brain, compassion fatigue. You know how I thought of it? I thought of it as, I have poured out so much. And now all of a sudden I'm not just feeling compassion, but the empathy has turned into like sorrow, like inside of me. So like I'm almost feeling like just sad all the time, or a little bit depressed. And I'm like, why am I feeling this way? But I think it's like trying to take on people's burdens instead of like saying, okay, Lord, you take these burdens, help me to like walk with them. 100%. And so like I feel it in that way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I feel that as well, for sure. Okay. So as a pastor's wife, you were talking about compassion. We're talking about loving people. So where do you find the balance of loving people? Because that's what we are called to do as believers, but also while balancing and protecting your heart from bitterness and burnout.
Yeah, boy, that's the question of the question of the decade, right?
We're waiting right now.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, and this is going to sound so basic. You even already alluded to it. And that is really staying connected in our own personal relationship with Jesus. I mean, and it's so funny. It kind of goes without saying, and yet it can't be said enough.
Right.
Because so many of us, when we are navigating, like helping other people, or just all the to-dos that have to do with ministry, planning an event, or, preparing to lead a Bible study, or, writing a message, because, I'm a Bible teacher. So, all of the to-dos, and then, being a mom, being a wife, being a daughter, being all the things. It's then sometimes, our time with the Lord can just be kind of a checklist, and then that doesn't fill us up. And so I would say, I look at it this way, is that in everything in life, there are joy drainers and joy givers. And so we kind of get out of balance when we have more joy drainers in our lives than we do joy givers.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and one of the joy givers is that this really sweet relationship with the Lord, where he is loving on us. And let me just tell you something real quick, that I was driving down the freeway. I was actually on the way to church, and I was just processing, and I was praying, and I was just started thinking about, loving others and loving God. And then I felt like the Holy Spirit saying, yeah, but there's a third one. You're to love me, to love others, but I want you to let me love you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And honestly, you guys, I feel like I, am very intentional about my relationship with the Lord and wanting to love the Lord. I'm intentional about loving others, but I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm so good at letting the Lord love me.
Right. Exactly.
And I think that's something as pastors' wives, it's like, I need to let the Lord just love me.
Yesterday, I was just speaking with a group of ladies with an adoption foster care ministry. And that was where I felt like the Lord called me to speak on, was exactly that, to sit in the presence and let him love me. That's why it's like tattooed on my arm to remind me like that I am loved, because it's so easy to preach it and to tell people and to give love to others and give grace to others, but we forget to give it to ourselves.
Gosh, that
and
is so true.
and also we just don't want to sit with ourselves long enough because of what is there to even allow the Lord to speak all that goodness, because we're like, there's no way, like how would he, what are the things, like how could he feel this way toward me, the guilt and the shame and all of that. So
we tell people all day long, we got to learn to listen also.
I know.
Preach.
I know. Preach to ourselves. Yeah.
So Donna, you wrote a book. It's called Healthy Conflict, Peaceful Life. And the first chapter of your book is titled The Day I Wanted to Burn Down the Church. I laugh because I've heard Jessica say those words, that she wanted to burn houses down. So it reminds me of that a little bit.
I was like, there's more like me out there. Yeah. So that's probably why we don't live in the same state. We could have done damage.
That's right. The Lord's like, separate them.
Put those women way far away from each other.
So we want to know more about the journey behind that chapter of your book. And so tell us the story of this chapter of your pastor wife life.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, it was so risky to make that my first chapter and to actually title it that. And then I thought, no, because this is real life. And if you haven't felt that way, you haven't been in ministry long enough. Because you eventually probably will face something like that. So here's where the story came from. So at a previous church, we had the most wonderful, wonderful experience. It was a really large church. My husband was the teaching pastor there. And it was just, our whole family thrived. Honestly, when I look back, I just think there was nothing about that wasn't just wonderful for our kids, for me, for my husband. But then the senior pastor decided to retire. And so some power grabs, came into play, some church politics, some, all of these, things I didn't even know existed that were going on behind the scenes kind of came to surface. And then kind of in a weird twist of events, my husband became the target from something. And we were like, what in the, it just completely blindsided us. And I won't go into all the details because they're not necessary. Everybody has their own story where they experienced church hurt. And, you expect that from people outside the church to behave in really ungodly ways. But when it's people inside the church, you're like, Lord, okay, it's not supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know. I honestly did not know how to process it well. And I wanted to. I love Jesus, and it's like I don't want to mess this up. But when things hurt, it's really hard to handle in a holy way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
And so I found myself in this situation where I'm like, okay, how do I even process this? Being real to the emotions, but wanting to be honoring to the Lord. And so I was having one of these really hard days. And so I decided to meet my best friend for lunch. She meets me. I've been crying. I have to keep my sunglasses on. And we find this table. And when all is quiet, she leans over and she said, "How are you doing?" And I said, truthfully, some days I just want to burn down the church.
Yeah.
And then she giggled kind of nervously. And then she said, "I highly recommend you don't repeat that out loud to anybody else." And,
Little it would be a chapter in your book.
Exactly. And what I realized is that, she was trying to protect me, from but she didn't fully understand. She wasn't a pastor's wife, like the depth of the hurt. And here's the other thing, how much emotional energy it had taken to manage that hurt.
Yeah.
And so I, obviously I didn't burn down the church. I wasn't serious about it. I was just venting the emotions that you feel to a best friend.
Yeah.
And so as I started thinking about just this whole area of conflict and how it doesn't just affect us in the church, but with our parenting, with our spouses, with our, in-laws, it affects everything.
Yeah.
And it's to the point of, even just the church that we came from, everything's great in a relationship until it's not.
Yeah.
And it's that until it's not point, that's when you have to know, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now what do I do? Because I know what to do if everything's great.
Right.
I just don't know what to do if everything's not great.
So true. Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, and the Lord over a period of years, this has now been years, has just taught me so much about how to handle conflict in a healthy and holy way so that we don't hang our head in regret and think, why did I handle it that way?
Oh my gosh.
And so that's the whole idea behind the book, is that how do you handle it so you don't look back and regret and think, I should have done this. I wish I'd done that. Why did I do that thing? Why did I say, all the things, right? So, that's where the book came from.
It's
And
beautiful.
the history behind it.
I have definitely looked back on how I've handled conflict in the past, probably 10 plus years ago, and see all the ways I wish I could have done it better.
Yes.
Whether that, not necessarily coming in blazing and angry, but I definitely did not know what to do. And I remember being paralyzed by that. And then just found myself beating myself up, crying over these situations, not knowing how to face the conflict in a good way. So for those who are listening in ministry, obviously there's going to be conflict, whether you're the type that wants to burn down the church or you want to go cry in a corner, in the fetal position, whatever. What does this look like to handle conflict in a holy way? Like practically for those of us in leadership, how do we do that?
Yeah. Well, this is what the whole book is about, but this is, you bring up a really good point, and it's actually one of the starting points, and that's kind of know how you typically handle conflict. So in the book, I talk about something that I have called the conflict continuum. So if you could picture conflict like as a line, a continuum, on one side are the avoiders. And those are the people, to your point, that want to just go cry in a fetal position, and and just they hate conflict, and so they will do unhealthy things like avoid it or acquiesce or ignore or put off hard conversations or just excuse behavior. They'll do all kinds of things just to avoid it. Yeah. On the other end of the conflict continuum are the attackers. And these are the people who want to burn down the church or they power up, and they will, come out with all guns blazing, right?
Yeah.
Neither of those is biblical. Yeah. There's a sweet spot in the middle that Jesus talks about where we're not avoiders, we're not attackers, we're addressers.
Yes.
Ooh.
Where we actually deal with the conflict in a healthy and holy way. And the Bible, actually, when I did research into what the Bible says about conflict, there are so many Bible verses that deal with that, which tells me two things. Number one, God knows we're going to have it.
Yeah.
And number two, he wants to equip us as to how to deal with it. So know where you are, because the way your conflict style manifests. And here's the other thing. Your conflict style might be a little different depending on who you're dealing with. Like you might be a little different with your spouse than with somebody at church.
Right.
In fact, you probably likely are.
Yes.
So kind of know where you are and then go, okay, I don't want to be an avoider or an attacker. I want to be an addresser, because in the church, anger is like the cardinal sin.
Yeah.
Like good Christian girls, like, no. But what ends up happening is that we become passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Instead, we triangulate relationships. We talk about people rather than to people.
Yeah.
And all of that, it just intensifies conflict rather than resolves conflict.
This makes me think of something. I do remember being told, like, just take the high road, just take the high road. But what the high road was is we don't address it. We don't talk about it. We're upset about it, but we're not going to go deal with it. We're just going to be quiet and I'm just going to know to avoid that person. And I'm going, why are we not talking about it? What if there's a misunderstanding? Like, what if we don't know the whole story? So I just think in general, in the church, we've been taught that conflict is evil or something, that unity can't happen if there's conflict, but that's not true at all. No. That is totally untrue, because you're right. The Bible does talk about it.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that up, because that is really true. We are taught take the high road, but it's like not healthy.
No,
it's not God's high road.
Exactly.
No, I was told that all the time. Yeah. I'm like processing this now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I hate confrontation.
Well, and I think like one of the other things is, one thing that I still over the past probably like 5 to 6 years have been processing on my own is just like how you just hear people teach and preach about how we should be meek and mild. And that's how Jesus was, so sweet and kind and all of these things. And he was all of those things, but he also was so much more than that. He also flipped tables over and told the Pharisees that they were a brood of vipers. Like I think that we are kind of like not seeing that he had all of the same emotions as how you handle them, but he handled conflict all the time. Like that's the thing. Like he addressed conflict, and he didn't run from the Pharisees. He didn't run from the people that hated him or didn't believe what he had to say. Right. He addressed and he moved forward. But also there were times when, what did he do? He went to a quiet place. He was silent. So he did all of it. I think that we only want to study and address the things that are probably easier for us to do. And we say the other things are, no, you can't do all that. Probably because you have an issue with handling those things. And so I love that you say all that, because I think it's true, because I thought, well, because I do like to address sin or address things that are happening, I always thought that I was in the wrong or I was being mean or all of that. And in my, teenage years, yes, I was addressing in a mean way or an attitude way, probably a lot of times, but I still was addressing it because no one else would. No one else was standing up. I just hadn't learned how to address things yet in a godly way, because I was still learning. Right.
Yeah, exactly. You bring up a really good point, is when you address it, it's how you do it. And
correct.
One of the chapters in the book is the one thing that you absolutely positively cannot resolve conflict well without. There's one thing. And if you were to ask people, okay, what do you need in order to address conflict well or resolve conflict? They would usually say something about an action, but it's not an action, it's an attitude. And it's the attitude of humility.
Yes.
But here's the thing, to your point, we've been taught that humility is like taking the high road.
Yes.
It makes you a doormat. But humility, biblical humility, is strength restrained.
Exactly.
Yeah. So humility does not make you a doormat for exploitation. Amen. It makes you a doorway for conversation.
Yeah, girl.
I like that.
So,
that right there, that might just need to be a quote for the week.
I was literally just thinking that.
It'll be Donna's quote.
So good.
But it's true.
It is so true, because you think about it. Like, if I'm not thinking of humility correctly, then I just let people walk all over me. Right. I just internalize. Yeah. And then that's where we get burned out. That's where we go, forget it. This ministry thing is just, I can't take it anymore. Yeah. That's where we get, it just affects us so much if we think that's humility. Yeah. But on the other hand, if we just come out, like, I need to address this right away, that blows people out of the water. And that just is not, but if we think of it as, this makes me, the way I'm approaching this is making me a doorway for conversation. That opens up so many possibilities. Yeah. Because, okay, here's something I was just thinking about today, is that most of us, when we have conflict, we think, I just want this to go away. Yeah. Right. And either we think I just want it to go away, so I'll avoid it, or I just want it to go away, so I'm going to tell you what I think, and then I'm going to feel better about it. And I don't care how you think. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So neither of those ways is godly or biblical or healthy or holy. Right. So instead of thinking, I just want this to go away, why don't we flip the script and think, I just want this to make us better.
It's good.
And if it can't make us better, I just want this to make me better.
Yeah.
I just want this to make me more like Jesus, me more emotionally and spiritually mature. I could use this, we have Romans 8:28, God causes all things to work to the good for those who love him, because he conforms us to the image of his son, Romans 8:29. Even conflict can conform us, even if our conflict does not resolve in the way we hope, it can change us. And then that can make us better, us more Christ-like. And that's really kind of the end point.
Well, and also like, I even think like, we've talked about on podcasts and at retreats, like how we handle conflict, we know without a shadow of a doubt that God has called us to this. And so we know, we always say our friendship is first, ministry, so we always are looking at that in those angles. But for us, when we have conflict, we know now that we have to address it, and how we address it and how we've learned how each other handles conflict. But I think if you would have told us 20 years ago and put us all three together in the way we handle conflict, I don't think it would be as strong as it is. And so we've all had to like humble ourselves. We've all had to listen sometimes when maybe we wanted to speak, but handling conflict in the right way really does make you stronger. And I do believe that it's made the three of us stronger in our relationship with each other, relationship with Jesus, and probably the way that we handle other conflicts in our lives as well. Because it's given us faith to know that, okay, God's gotten us through conflict. He can get us through other conflict with other people as well. We've seen how it can be done healthy. Like you said, that doesn't mean it's going to go the way that we desire it all the time. Yeah. And I think we have to go into things knowing that it's not, for sure. But yeah, I love all of this conversation. Hey friend, we will get right back to our episode, but we want to take a moment and thank our patrons. You guys keep our podcast going.
If you are not a patron and you would like to consider donating to our podcast ministry, we would be so grateful. And we might even do a happy dance.
When you become a patron, you get perks like being the first to hear about special info and retreats. You get bonus episodes, monthly devotionals, lock screens, and more.
Plus, we have added a new $1 tier for those who believe in us and what we're doing, just because you love us.
So head on over to our show notes and click on the Patreon link to learn more. Now let's get back to our episode.
So can I bring up a point? I want to piggyback off of something you said, because I know probably your listeners are like, okay, great. We've been talking about addressing it. And okay, but how?
Yeah.
How do I have that first step? Right. And you said something that is part of that first step, because typically when we think, okay, now I need to address this issue, we think about saying things like, we need to talk. Okay, never start a conversation with, we need to talk.
Something's coming bad.
Yeah, something's coming bad. It puts people on defense. The way you want to address a conflict, this is a takeaway. If you get nothing from this podcast, get this. Lead with listening. Here's why. Because you already know your side of the story. What you don't know is their side of the story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when you lead with listening by asking them a question like, tell me your perspective on what happened the other day, or how are you feeling about that situation? Or, whatever it is, lead with a question, lead with listening, and then just listen to how they respond, because they may give you information that you're like, I didn't know that was going on.
That happens a lot with the three of us.
Right?
I was like, I remember like a couple of months ago when something was going on. I was having a really hard day and a lot was happening before we left for a podcast, a retreat. And I was like, please pray for me. And I'm the one that struggles with vulnerability. So I like spewed it all out. And then Stephanie came in later and texted and was texting about work stuff. But the thing was, is she had not, because she had
text threads.
She had a busy morning, appointments, all the stuff, and hadn't gotten to it. But she knew she had to do that right then. And so what I could have said instead of going, hey, just want to I mean, I still did it as nice as Jessica can do it, but also this would have been better. Like you just said, hey, Steph, like, did you get my text message, about when all the things were happening? And, then Stephanie would have been like, wait, what? No, I didn't get it. And then I wouldn't have had to go through the
emotions,
the 2 hours of Stephanie thinking I was mad and then her getting upset and all that kind of stuff.
It's a whole situation.
But it's so true. Something so minuscule can be blown out of proportion instead of asking the question, even just as, did you get this text?
Yeah.
So it's so true.
Exactly. And when I was writing the book, I was doing research, and we assume.
Yes.
It's just the way we relate, right? We assume.
Yeah.
And so it's so common that we assume that social scientists have actually studied how accurate are we assume somebody else's motives.
Mm-hmm.
And they found that we are only accurate 20% of the time.
Wow.
Oh.
And it only goes up to 30% if we are in a really close marriage.
Wow.
So
that actually doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
I think there's so many times where we jump to, they're out to get us, or, they don't have our best interests in mind. But I think if we could all just give each other the benefit of the doubt first.
Yes.
Instead of going there, well, they blah, 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 benefit of the doubt is something that I have learned in my late 30s, just the last few years. I feel like that's something that I've really done a much better job at, because I was not always good at that. I would always jump to, well, why would they say that? Blah, blah, blah. So no, I love this conversation. People need to know that. People need to hear. Just because you hear something does not mean that it's true, does not mean that that's their heart, because I think people just jump to conclusions so quickly.
And I think that's what LaWanda, one of our friends, but one of your really good friends, was saying that when we interviewed her, was that I always think that Jenna has what did she say? The best interest in mind, that she's for me. So before I think that something is wrong or she hasn't called me because of this, to go, I know Jenna's heart. I know she loves me, and kind of gives herself a pep talk before she goes down thinking that, that something's wrong with someone, And I think if we went into every relationship like that, of thinking the positive and knowing what's true, kind of like we have to do when the enemy's attacking, right?
Yeah,
Scripture.
absolutely.
I know that my God is not a God of chaos and of, not of order, and he loves me, and he so I think it's really, we have to do the same thing.
Well, and it's the same armor, because that same armor, I mean, it is the enemy. All of those thoughts that we start to think, those are lies most of the time. We allow ourselves to go down that rabbit hole of, she probably thought this and she probably thought this, but that's exactly what the enemies do. It wants to happen. So it's the same armor.
So, even, okay, so I'm going to take it a step further, because there might be times that you actually do know the situation. This person has straight just done something ugly, and it, they know it. Let's say your assumption is not an assumption, it's knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I think that's where that humility comes back into play. And then seeing that person and go, okay, the Lord loves this person. There is something going on beneath the surface of why they're attacking. There's something more to this picture. And I think even just trying to see that person in that way makes the difference as well.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
It does.
Okay, Donna. So we got way off track, but it's all still on track. It was good. It was good. It was what needed to happen. Okay. So a lot of people that are listening, of course, are in ministry. So can we kind of name some of those through your study and through a lot of years of just ministry life? Can you name some of the common unhealthy patterns you've seen in how Christians or the church leaders, how they don't handle conflict well, or maybe they do? Well, let's just do the negative right now, because I think those are the things that are sometimes hard to see.
Yeah. Well, we've mentioned a few of them, passive aggressive, which I see that so much in women, by the way. It's we don't want to address it. So then we become passive aggressive. But here's the thing. When there is some sort of unresolved conflict and we're having big emotions about it, it will bleed out. If it doesn't come out, it will bleed out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's going to manifest itself.
Right.
So one of the ways is passive aggressive. One of the ways, as we've already mentioned, is kind of powering up. And why are you questioning my authority? That defensiveness, being defensive, assumptions. We've talked about assumptions, outbursts, of anger. We already mentioned triangulation. And this is a huge one. And I mentioned it before, but when we are in conflict, the Bible is so clear about this because it says, if your brother or sister sins against you, go to them and point out their fault, right? So it doesn't say go to your sister in Christ and talk to them about what so-and-so did.
Yeah.
It says go to the person. So if we're not going to the person, but we're talking about the person, then we are becoming just as much of a problem as the person. This is Jesus's word. So either we obey him or we don't.
Right.
It's as simple as that. So as hard as it might be, if your brother or sister offends you, we've got to go to them and not talk about them. And, the Bible says, be angry and yet don't sin. Don't let the sun go down in your anger. Don't let the devil get a foothold. So that means we got to resolve our conflicts, quickly. We don't hang on to it, for days and days and days and days and days. Now, there's sometimes that we, for whatever reason, it's not the best option to go right away. I would say if it's in family or something, then definitely you do. But sometimes in church ministry, that's not always the wisest thing. And then also because we're pastors' wives, sometimes things happen with our husbands. And then it's like, that's not my place. Yeah. This is my husband's issue. My place is to support him and pray. This is not my place to step in because I will just make it worse. And so there's discernment that needs to be, that needs you. Yeah. And we can get really emotional and kind of mama bearish. And it's like, that's just not Holy Spirit led. So we have to think about that. And then also just the fact that, when we're in leadership, we're modeling, we're not just modeling biblical truths. We're modeling spiritually emotional truths. So there's some wisdom, there's some emotional maturity, spiritual maturity that we want to be true of ourselves so that we can model it before people so that the whole body of Christ can be healthy. Yeah. So those are just some ways that it manifests.
That's great. Donna, for those who might be listening who are weary, who are maybe ready to walk away from ministry, maybe they want to burn the church down because of conflict, what encouragement would you give them today?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say the four of us, we see you and we get you. Yeah. And we've been right where you are.
Yeah.
And I would say two things. Don't forget that you are in a spiritual battle. And the devil would like nothing more than for you to quit. That is his aim for you. He wants to take you out. And one of the ways he does that is by other people's messy behavior. And this just reminds me, before I tell you the second thing, my son, right when he had graduated from college, he had his first roommate that was living on his own in an apartment. And he came home and he said, okay, Mom, I have this theory about relationships. I'm like, oh,
okay.
You do? Well, what is it? And he goes, everybody has a little bit of crazy. And I laughed. Amen. And I go, yep, they do. And then I said, Taylor, here's the deal with relationships. Yes, everybody has a little bit of crazy, but the trick is not to let their little bit of crazy make you a little bit of crazy. And so sometimes, people in the church, they're messy. We're messy, right? But it's like, don't let their messy, their crazy, their sin make me crazy, sinful, and take me out, right? So that would be number one, is that the devil really, he wants to take you out. Don't let him. Armor up. But number two, and this was something I really learned through my I want to burn down the church debacle, is that I started to understand Jesus in a way I had never understood Jesus, because all of a sudden we were just massively betrayed. And I thought, oh, Jesus, that's how you felt. Like Judas betrayed. He was your friend. You chose him. You loved him. You washed his feet. You poured every sermon out to him. You showed him and he betrayed you with a kiss so that you had nails, driven into your wrists and your feet, and you were flogged and you were beaten and you were misunderstood. And I just thought, oh, Jesus, you get betrayal, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought of Peter, and I'm like, God, you get somebody not having your back at the when times get tough. Like, you get that, don't you? And all of a sudden, all of the emotions that I was experiencing, I just went, oh, Jesus, I didn't understand how much this must have affected you until I experienced how much it affected me.
Yeah, that's good.
And it made me love Jesus so much more and understand how much he can be such a source of help to me, because I started to look at Jesus, to see, to picture Jesus just saying to me, Donna, invite me into this because I get it.
Yeah.
And because I get it, I can help you.
Yeah.
So good. That's good.
That was good. And I mean, I feel like you've kind of left us with something already that we can take back. But is there anything else before we close out, before we do the final 3 questions, which are you ready for those? I hope you are. But is there one more thing you want to leave us with? Just a practical step that maybe doesn't feel so hard or so overwhelming or whatever. Just one we can take away of how we can step into conflict in a more healthy way. A final statement.
A final statement. Oh
Yes.
my goodness, the pressure.
I know the pressure,
I know,
man.
right? This is what they're going to remember. It's going to the end.
Oh my
Wow,
goodness.
she's throwing you there. Wow.
Well, I think I've already given you my best. Lead with listening and humility. I would say, let me think about this for a second. Okay, here's one of the biggest lessons I learned during my I want to burn down the church situation, is that I wouldn't have said I didn't know that I had bought into this lie until I really started examining myself. And that is, I believed that things would be better if the other person would just change. If they would just be honest, if they would just not do all these power plays, if they would just not XYZ, well, then none of this would have happened and all of this could be resolved. And so what I was functionally doing, though, and I didn't realize this, is that I was handing the keys to my personal peace over to somebody who may or may not handle things in the right way.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I cannot be handling the keys to my personal peace to somebody who I can't control.
Correct.
Yeah.
That
Right.
belongs
That's
to
good.
me.
Yeah.
And so of course, yes, if they had changed, things would be better. There's an element of truth to that.
Right.
But that I had to really come to the point where I embrace my personal peace. It has to be hung on the fact that, am I pleasing Jesus? Period. Full stop. End of sentence. Because if how I'm handling this is pleasing Jesus, then I can have peace and I won't hang my head in regret.
Yeah, that's good.
If I'm not pleasing Jesus, well then, all bets are off.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say that was the key for me.
That's beautiful. That was good. Good, girl. Okay. So we have come to the last 3 questions. The rapid fire. Are you ready, Donna?
I'm so ready.
Thank you, darling. That was so good. Okay. First question. If you could go give your pre-pastor wifey self one piece of advice, what would you say to her?
I would say, don't sweat the small stuff. It's all going to turn out way better than you think it is. I would say, and honestly, we've already alluded to this. My biggest piece of advice is cultivate your real relationship with Jesus every single step of the way. And even when you feel like I am so blowing it, I'm blowing it with my kids, blowing it with my husband, over the long haul, Jesus is going to transform your life. And so just every day, just cultivate your relationship with Jesus and make that absolutely your number one priority. Let Jesus love on you.
Yeah.
That's what I would tell her.
Good job, Dan.
Love that. Okay, number 2. What do you do for fun, either by yourself or with your spouse, to get your mind off of ministry things?
Yeah. And this is a really important one. And this is something, so my husband, JP, and I have been talking about this lately, because when you have kids in the home, you just functionally have a lot of extra activities that take your mind off church, because you're at soccer games, you're at football games, you're at cheerleading, you're at whatever your kid is involved in. Right. And so that is actually, as crazy as that can make your life, actually embrace that, because it's a way that you're getting your brain space off of church.
That's good.
Onto something else.
That's true.
Now that our kids are all grown, we're like, wait a minute, now our whole life is church, and that's not healthy. We need a soccer game. We need a football game. We need something to go to. So I would say, but what we do is, I'm a gym rat. I love to work out, and my husband and I, we love to travel. So those are just two really fun things that we like to do.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Awesome. That's great. Okay. This last one is always a doozy. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. If you could tell the church at large, church congregation, one thing, and have them really listen and respond, what would you say?
I would say, know that your pastor and his wife really love Jesus. We really love you, and we're really trying to do the best that we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want them to believe that. And it kind of goes to something that we just already talked about. If we know that, if we believe that, then our assumptions will be, we will believe the best until we know for sure the worst. And that will cut so much conflict and drama.
Yeah.
It will alleviate just so many problems and so much drama inside the church.
Love it. That was so good, Donna.
That was, man, I felt like there was a lot of just really like big nuggets.
Big nuggets
of truth. Not even little nuggets. They were big.
They were like Chick-fil-A nuggets.
Yeah. No, I think they were bigger than Chick-fil-A nuggets.
They were
But
chicken
Chick-fil-A
fingers.
Chicken fingers. They were chicken.
But those aren't nuggets.
That's so true.
That's so true.
But Chick-fil-A nuggets are of the Lord.
They are.
That's so
they
true.
are. Donna took it even higher.
You did.
The Lord?
No. Than the Chick-fil-A nuggets. Donna, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. We are praying that this goes out to so many ears to hear, because I know we're all going to deal with conflict. We are.
Oh, yeah.
It's
sure.
not going away this side of heaven. So we need to do a better job of how we handle it, so we can love well and give glory to God in every situation. So thank you so much.
Aww.
And yeah, guys, we love you. Until next time.
Bye.
Okay, friends, if you have enjoyed this episode as much as we have, please help us spread the word on Facebook and Instagram.
If you didn't know yet, Instagram is where all the fun is at. From dance reels on Wednesdays to spiritual encouragement and laugh out loud posts in between, there is something for everyone.
And last but certainly not least, if you could take a moment right now to stop what you're doing and give us a rating and review, even subscribe to our podcast, this seriously helps other people find us who wouldn't be able to otherwise. Thank you so much for your love and support. We hope you'll tune in next week.